The architecture is what at the end of the day it is design for problem solving.
But what does it take to actually do it with real people? How do you foster that trust?
So the Jawaharlal Nehru Planetarium was more than just a project for us because it was something that we had to validate.
How do you otherwise find like-minded people? Like for both of you, the venture needs others who have bought into your vision.
Present generation, I think first is they want the comfort a lot of times, right?
I mean, to give up the opportunity to pursue a PhD and still want to come back, to keep going back to that idea of, oh, but we were being driven in that direction. It was always happening. It's just, I wonder if some of us, we don't listen to that calling so much.
Just so happy that these very little children, right? Very young children were in a safe place, you're getting good food.
We've been measuring things the wrong way for a long time. I think we've been tying some very simple economic markers to every single thing without realizing the very complex nuances of it.
And we really felt strongly that, to run one center, we would have been able to pull it off just with friends and family. But we felt very strongly called that we're in a place where we can reach more. And the need in our cities are huge. You're talking about more families coming in, right?
Because your teachers and your team members, what is their skilling journey like?
So you learn through your own mistakes, right? And you know what works, what doesn't work.
Both of you bring a certain joy to the process, which is so evident in this conversation as well.
Today, we bring you two women who will inspire you, energize you, and leave you reminded that purpose, calling, all of those big words start with simple small steps and keeping the faith on a daily basis to create huge impact, to create communities, to create tribes, and to really build for the future. Saraswathi Padmanabhan, the founder of Diyaghar. Diyaghar started with 5 children in one room, children of migrant construction workers who needed a safe and secure place to spend the day. She brings them in, nourishes them, educates them, and sets them off on a journey that I'm sure the course of which she has changed forever. Today, Diyaghar is over 1,600 students across 28 centers in Bangalore and Chennai. Saraswathi brings so much of love, compassion, and joy into the amazing institution that she is building every day. Joining her is Meghana Dutta, architect and founder of Studio Decode. From award-winning designs to building spaces that make learning pure joy, Meghana also has created spaces for children to have conversations, to engage with each other, to build communities. She runs the Future is Us Summit, helping children have conversations on topics so important to us and the world today. And the Satori Trust, again, bringing careers to children, bringing people voices and giving them a space to learn and grow. She also runs SWA, She Who Builds, women construction workers, and looking at how she can enable their growth, their learning, let them move up that chain in the little space that they have been provided today. Anag, artisans forming a collective, creating pieces of great beauty that the world can then take part in. Meghana and Saraswathi join us on a very humbling conversation today, reminding us that each of us can bring so much more of ourselves to this world and create everlasting impact. Welcome to Small Talk, Work, Play, Build. I am Subha Chandrasekharan, Leadership and Career Growth Coach.
And I'm Hasita. I'm a brand consultant and co-founder at Motley Crue.
Welcome, Meghana and Saraswathi, and I will call you Sachu like I usually do. Thank you so much for your time. We're really excited to have you here today.
Thank you so much. Lovely to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Shubha. Thank you. Really a pleasure to be with both of you.
And, both of you are involved in multiple things and very deeply involved, right? And deeply involved in causes, in people. And I feel somewhere just giving a whole group of people dignity, opportunity, right? And I think that's what we want to really bring out today, that what does it take to do this day in and day out? And what can some of us, fence sitters, couch sitters take away and really be inspired by? So maybe I'll start with what has been maybe one of the toughest things that you've gone through in the journey of serving others, building communities, and what is something that has given you hope?
So, I think it goes back to the question of people asking you, or the debate that is going on today, of how many hours is the right amount to work? Where is the work-life balance? So my answer to a lot of the students or a lot of young professionals or even people like our friends is, if you really enjoy what you do, care more than joy, I would say, if you care
Care.
deeply enough for what you do, I don't think you measure the hours. And every fall in that is only a learning, right? Because you care deeply enough to get up and move again. So I think that's the point where everybody has to figure out what do they really care about. And I don't think that comes overnight.
Yeah.
It comes and it evolves, right? What we cared about probably when we were teenagers to now is a very different story because of our own life experiences that we go through. A lot of times, probably our own personal turmoil probably changes us to say, okay, if we had nobody to help us go through that, maybe we can give back in some way related to that. So the other person, it's an easier journey. So that's where care probably comes from.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. And that's a difficult one for many of us. And I think we'll dive into that a little bit too. What about you, Sachu? Like what? I mean, Diyaghar, I know I've seen it start from 4-5 children
Yes.
in one room
Yeah.
to 1,200 plus today across centers. What happened that made you say, okay, this is my calling?
You use the right word, calling, right? Because we truly believe that's what God has created us for. So I grew up in Chennai, and our parents used to take us to children's homes on our birthdays,
Okay.
and I've seen them helping a lot of people, especially children, for their education and things. My first job was in Mumbai, and so there I used to volunteer with street children, and I absolutely enjoyed my time with the children, even though I was just learning the language at that time. Then I got married, moved to the US in the Bay Area. We used to volunteer with children of prisoners. So wherever we were looking for something to do with children. And that's where, we talked about joy and care. And, really that's where I really found joy. And so I was working as an auditor there. And at that time felt really strongly that God was asking us to come back to India to serve children in communities. And then it took about 2 years before, we really kind of packed up and came. And so once here, I said, okay, how can I equip myself? Because my background is in accounting and finance. And so how do I equip myself to actually be able to help people? So then I met a wonderful counselor. And I said, okay, this makes sense, right? This is a good way to connect and really help. So I studied counseling. And during that time, we used to see these migrant communities behind Shamil, my husband's office. And so the weekends we used to go there and engage with the children and realize that many of them are not going to school. There are no schools close by. And so we did that for the time we lived in that area. And then I worked in an adoption agency for a year. And then once our first son came home, I really wanted to work part-time. And, so I started teaching counseling once a week, and then took a break when we had our daughters, again went back to teaching counseling. But the images I'd seen of these migrant children, right, always had stayed with me. I had seen children playing on the second floor of a construction building, right? And I was like, here we are so protective of our own children, and right outside this is happening. So in my mind, we felt like, okay, once my youngest turned 6, we would start something because I really wanted to be home with them. But God had different plans. My youngest was a little less than 3, and we felt very strongly God was asking us to step out and start this. And so that's how kind of we said, okay, now that we want to do something with children of migrant laborers, what do we do, right? And my 3 children were in a Montessori school at that time. And we loved that, just that environment, that method, and the 3 of them were doing well. And so I started studying Montessori and that summer, and then went on to, really start Diyaghar.
Wow. That truly is a calling. And I think it's that step-by-step process, right? You were telling us about like your experience. You also in the US, correct? And then kind of brought that back here.
So in the US, like you said, I've always wanted to work with children, whether when I was, even before I went to US, even as a student. I think I love teaching. So whether it's like kids, your helpers' kids or whoever it is, right? You just enjoy helping somebody do better and see a smile in their face. So when I went to US also, it was about, how do you work with students? And I also wanted to come back. I always wanted to come back. And we just packed our bags the day he said yes. I think I just said, okay, let's go. And I'd actually got admission to PhD at that time. I was supposed to start in Harvard in 2 months. I just said, I'm going back. And I can always do a PhD later on. But what if he changes his mind and I never go back to India?
But that's the thing, right? So we'd met a friend recently who's taken on early retirement, and the idea being to, kind of continue to work on other projects which he's wanted to work on for quite some time. And when he was quitting, he quit at a very senior role at TCS. And in fact, just before he was due to leave, he was made part of this team of senior leaders who are curated across. And the opportunity came, like the email came saying, we want you to be on this track. It's a big... He left the next day because in his mind, he knew that he was so sure that he wanted to. And I'm hearing that so much in both your stories that... I mean, to give up the opportunity to pursue a PhD and still want to come back, to keep going back to that idea of, but we were being driven in that direction. It was always happening. It's just, I wonder if some of us, we don't listen to that calling so much.
I think so, because even what you spoke about the work-life balance, right? The struggle. And I meet so many individuals who, they are fine. They have a good, 9 to, I can't say 5, let's say a 9 to 9 day job that keeps them busy, but it also puts certain blinders on. And then 20 years later, they're like, but I never had time to know what that other thing was. Right? And I could never figure out, and now I want to, or I have the time, or I can't do this anymore. And then now I need to jump into something, but I have absolutely zero interest and there's no calling because I've not built that kind of... I feel maybe the newer generations are doing it better.
I don't know. It's my personal perspective. Right now, the present generation, I think first is they want the comfort a lot of times, right? So they forget after 10 years, the comfort takes a second seat. And then you start soul searching. Like, what did I do for 10 years? Was it meaningful enough? It's not like they don't know what meaning is. It's just that they feel this is a priority at that age. And 10 years later, they're wondering, okay, what did I do? And I think that's where the corporate culture comes in, I feel, is where they're so focused on production that they forget to see the person behind. If they could just help them take that time off during work, give those opportunities to say, if you have a calling, not a calling, if you have a passion, let's make it happen. It doesn't have to be the whole day, maybe, half a day or 1 day in a month. Let's make it happen, but talk to them about their dream, their purpose, their shared thoughts. And make it, build it and make it happen rather than us doing it singularly. I think it would be a much more, I think we would see a lot more change in the city if change happened through larger companies.
No, that's true. I think they're all little islands who somehow want it solved around them. Right? But your core profession is architecture, right? From there, how did work with children and teaching and working with women laborers, how did that?
So see, architecture is what at the end of the day it is design for problem solving, right? You see things and you feel it should have been done better, so it can make a person feel better in terms of whichever emotion you choose for that space. Whether you want joy or whether you want introspection or whether you want vibrancy, you want to build in the energy. It's always about playing with emotions, right? And architecture has a social purpose because there's a finding also, like I told you last time, if the spaces are designed well, the public spaces, your money that you spend for safety of the city reduces by 30 to 40%.
Wow.
It's a huge saving because that means people are more happier, right? And you feel safe in the space Because like even we would not feel safe if it's a dark space. But if it's a
Correct.
well-lit space, automatically you feel safe. So
Correct.
automatically the number of policemen required is less. Then when you have public spaces that bring in community together, the bonding increases.
Correct.
If the bonding increases, you have each other. You don't need a policeman to take care of you. The community itself takes care of you.
Yeah.
So you look at architecture like that as a design, as a social purpose and problem solver. So that same thing goes into women. SWA is about uplifting women and also giving them the dignity to construct something more than what they're just doing as a helper, to be part of a larger infrastructure and see growth. So that's directly related to architecture. Construction and architecture directly related. Then comes in Anag. Anag is about, again, craftsmen across, right? A lot of times near temple towns, the historical towns, where their craft is excellent, but the way it's presented, it doesn't make you feel like you have to buy it. So it's dying. It's a dying craft. Now, how do you give life back to that craft? Because that craft is not just craft, it's telling you stories about our culture, about our history. And as an architect, we're always rooted in history, right?
Yeah.
We learn from our history and then we move forward and we always see how do we bridge the gaps. So Anag is also about that, but also the angle of upliftment. So it uplifts me and uplifts them. A lot of time people say I'm uplifting them. I don't think it does only that. I think it's a two-way traffic. I benefit from them as much as they benefit from me. If I have to make my piece look something unique, talk about history, talk about culture, I cannot do it without them. So that's Anag. And the other thing, the last thing is Satori is the foundation that I've started. Is basically for students, but to talk about human relations that becomes international relations, and through dialogues, you bring about peace. Because if you know how to communicate with each other, that is when you start building peace, right? If you don't understand that you can have differences and still hold both truths together, then where is peace? So that again ties in with the idea that, you're building a community. What is architecture? Finally coming back to community. So all four, women and children, are very, related. For me, that's what it is.
No, you're able to make that connection. And honestly, I didn't see it that
when you
way.
explained it that way, it suddenly made a lot more.
It's building one story at a time.
Yeah.
Building one space at a time.
And you've built some very interesting spaces in Bangalore, right? The planetarium.
The Jawaharlal Nehru Planetarium. So the Jawaharlal Nehru Planetarium was more than just a project for us, because it was something that we had to validate why it is required. For the funds to come in, because there's already an existing planetarium, right? This is a new building next to it. So they said, why do we need it? That money can be better spent somewhere else, because it's government funds at the end of the day that gets distributed to so many aspects. So we had to go and validate, saying this is a place that gives informal science education at a fraction of a cost. And this is going to impact lakhs of people who aspire to be a scientist but cannot otherwise. So that's where, even if you spend 30 crores, it's nothing. If you're going to look at it, this building is going to be there for the next 50 years or more.
No, like anytime you pass by, there are scores of children on field trips, right? And now I'm just thinking, like, 20 years from now, you'll hear a child that said, one day they took me to the planetarium and it changed my life, right? Yeah.
But I'm sure as you're doing the work, there are a lot of different stakeholders for both of you, and they may all have different priorities, right? Each one, I think, especially Saraswati, when you started, I'm sure there were a lot of challenges around why should we believe that you're the person for this, or where are we sending our children, even as basic as that. What does it take to, because we use that word, we throw it around so much, right? Especially marketing folk, we love the word communities and community building. We start a Slack channel and we think we've built a community. We do that, guilty, right? So, but what does it take to actually do it with real people? How do you foster that trust? What's that journey been like?
So when we started, I think what really worked well for us was because, I was starting by myself, in a sense. And so I used to go into the community. So initially first talk to them, and tell them that, we have a safe place, what's happening to the children. So typically what happens is when the children, they're either left behind in the community when parents go for construction work or waste picking. You'll have a 3-year-old taking care of a 1.5-year-old. You'll see them going with their parents and collecting waste, getting waste, right? So we go and say that, aren't you sending your children to the Anganwadi? And then we realize there is no Anganwadi close by. They leave early in the morning, come late. So then we said, okay, we can create a safe place for you to come. You can bring your children, you can leave your children here, we can give them food and all of that. So initially, you're right, Hasita, it was very, very difficult to build that trust. So for several weeks, so we first started very close to where we lived. And so for several weeks, we went to that community. I was not speaking Kannada very well then. I still don't speak that language very well. But thankfully, with the lady who was helping at home, we used to go and speak. And then we have first had 5 children and only 5 children for that whole month. And then we were talking to those parents and said, okay, now, and we picked a place very close to the community so the parents could come and see
that they're safe.
Yeah. And so they were just so happy that these very little children, right? Very young children were in a safe place. You're getting good food because many times the parents will cook in the morning and leave. And this 4-year-old will, give the annasara to the little one. They'll eat, might not eat during the day till late in the evening. So I think it was the food and the safe place. They didn't think about education at all, especially since we're talking about children younger than 6, right? They were like, they'll go to school when they are older is the usual idea, right? But just being hands-on, being with the community, and then them coming in and out of the center, seeing what we were doing with the children, and probably the stories the children went back, they'll say that children came back and they're singing these rhymes. And if they sing rhymes in English, then they're like, okay, now my child, right? Something different can happen for my child. And then through those parents, on the weekends, we used to go to other communities. So I said, okay, now take us to the other communities where, in your construction sites, their families are coming. So we used to go that way along with them. And then they were our ambassadors. They would speak and say, my children are going there and all of this. And so that's how we first started. And so even now when we start centers, that's a huge challenge, but now our centers are really in and around the community, so it makes it much easier for the parents to
be able to have a sense of access, I think.
Absolutely. And I tell them, I said, I tell these parents all the time, it's good that you're worried about your children, right? I mean, I have 3 children and we have to be extra cautious about where our children are going, and especially when they're so young. And they go off to work so far away. So since our communities are in and around, our centers are in and around the community, that really helps. And also we always have a support staff from the community itself. And so that's a huge bridge, so they're seeing the whole time what we're doing and, what the teachers are doing in the center. So that helps to again build that trust.
I'm sure that was not a hill you thought you'd have to climb, right? To tell them that this place is safer than that pile of sand that the child is going to sit on the whole day. But like you said, you're recruiting kind of from that community. How do you otherwise find like-minded people? Like for both of you, the venture needs others who have bought into your vision.
Big time,
right? And we all we know that the minute someone says NGO or it's a trust, that it can't be driven by money, which again is something to question. I mean, for another day, that if enough of us come forward, it can be as remunerative as any other kind of corporate job, but you have to find people who have that balance. So what works for you?
So let's say for Swa, who will benefit the most if people are trained, if women are trained, the builders, the contractors, right? So you speak to them where it matters to them. If you just tell them, they'll get a better life, I don't think it hits them, right? But today they are questioning, why do all the labor go back to their hometown the minute their job is done? Or if they have an opportunity in their hometown, obviously they will go back. Why should they stay? So that's a question. And today we are facing that problem where we're already about 20 to 30% less than what we need in Bangalore. And that's only going to increase. It's not going to reduce. So the question that I had for them is, you are questioning why are they going back? My question to you is, what have you done to make them feel like they belonged? Why should they stay? So by giving training to them, if you're going to increase their pay by 3x in just a few weeks, why would they not stay? So that's when it makes them understand, okay, it's worth the effort. worth putting in the CSR money. Right now, I've not yet got it, but I have been speaking to them where they're very interested now. They are more open. They are more, coming forward to me and saying, we will support you. You set it up. Tell us where you want to set up.
Oh, that's
The
huge
tables have
progress.
turned.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because now it's for them. They're not doing it for anybody else, not for me, not for the
Yeah.
woman.
Hmm.
They're doing it for themselves because it matters.
Yeah.
That was my other question, actually, because one is I'm just realizing now that we've been measuring things the wrong way for a long time. I think we've been tying very simple economic markers to every single thing without realizing the very complex nuances of it. Funding is a big part of the work that you folks do. What does that conversation actually look like on ground? Of course, I hear you in terms of, making sure that their priority is met or it's framed in a way that makes sense to them.
Yeah.
How does the, dispersal of funds work? Do you have challenges there? Do people continue to see that vision when a large team is involved? Because these are enterprises. These are people coming together as teams rather than individuals. How do you manage those relationships? Because I'm sure in this case, it's not transactional, right? It has to have that very deep buy-in from so many people.
And I think, like, kind of adding to that, like, how do you, I mean, every conversation can't be like, do me a favor. Because the impact and the output is so large and significant that the donor, I shouldn't need to convince you, like, can't you see what we are doing here? But obviously not everybody will, fair enough. So how do you help them cross that bridge?
For me, it's been a journey. Right, the first year we ran it with our personal funds. The second year it was friends and family. And so, it was so wonderful to just be able to take care of the children and do all of that. But by the second year, we realized now, and we really felt strongly that, to run one center, we would have been able to pull it off just with friends and family. But we felt very strongly called that we're in a place where we can reach more. And the need in our cities are huge. You're talking about more families coming in, right? And so that's been a very difficult journey for me, to be honest, right? Giving money is very easy, but asking someone else, right? And so my aunt is the first one who said something like, we'll ask, we'll say that shamelessly I'm going to ask, right? She's like, no, ask with a lot of pride, because you're not asking for yourself. You're asking for someone else who can't ask, right? And Aparna, the friend you introduced me to and who's now on our board, does that so well, right? So it's taken a long time to really get comfortable first with asking, individuals, friends, then asking corporates. But now I'm in a place like where like you said, where you say that, if you want to be a part of this, right? And each of us have different causes that we might relate to, different things that we're doing in our lives, right? So now I've become comfortable, like, if this aligns with what you want to do, or if this resonates with what you would like to do, then it'll be wonderful to join hands. But that's taken a long time.
It's difficult. And sitting on the other side, and I was talking to her before we started, that each of us is also wired differently in terms of how we feel we can help, right? And I know that I'm somebody who's a great sofa or like a backseat, a behind the scenes helper. Right? Anybody I meet, I would have said, do you know about Diyaghar? But am I in the community, standing there, teaching the children? I'm probably not wired that way, right? And there are many who are, who will hit the ground. And I will try and do, like, I might write her newsletter. I might, coach some teachers. Like, I can do that kind of stuff. And each of us is also why, and you have to appeal to a wide range of us also, to make it work. Like, it's not just the money.
And to know that all of these are in the, these resources are available to me, it's mind-boggling, the kind of the matrix of information that you, I'm sure, have to manage.
I think it's been a lot of divine connections. Truly. We went to college together, and you and my husband are batchmates. You connect us to Aparna. And also, really, I think, of course, we have, like, especially with corporate funding, we have pipelines that now we've learned to build and follow up. But for us, throughout, it's just been miracle after miracle. Just God connecting us, whether it's to people or to corporates or to the people on the team. When you're talking about how do you convince people, first thing was like, how do you convince them to join an NGO? And so it's really been, for us, it's been an experience of just miracles.
Beautiful.
Because your teachers and your team members, what is their skilling journey like?
So right now, SWA is very much in the early stage, where basically I am going personally because it's like a test bed. So only once the test bed is done, maybe another 1 or 2 months, is when, you can move to the next level.
Makes sense.
So you learn through your own mistakes, right? And you know what works, what doesn't work. Like I told you, my biggest challenge is the men. It's not the women. The good thing that I've learned is they're very smart, very capable, and probably will pick up faster than 6 weeks. 6 weeks is what I had kept in mind, but I think they can pick it up even in 1 month.
And what are those steps? Like today, what are they doing and what do you want
So
them
today,
to be?
all they're doing is taking that bandli that they take and just move it from one place to the other place. But they're doing it the entire day. And they do work at home before they come and they do work at home after they go. Whereas the men are the masons and the other things, right? But these people are doing it the entire day. They never stop. What we want them to do is all they have to do is learn how to build a wall.
Interesting.
Not 100 things in the site. Just learn how to build a wall. That's all you need to climb up.
But even that one inflection point you're saying has social
Impact,
issues?
implication. Yeah, nobody wants them to build a wall.
Wow.
Because then who will do this?
Who will do this? So they don't want. They said, why are you wasting your time and energy? You'd rather teach the kids. Let them be. So that is the challenge over there. The challenge is not about getting funding. I don't see the problem if I start really, because here, like you said, I'm not asking them to do a favor.
They benefit directly.
They
at the end of
benefit
the life
directly.
cycle
So it's a
engagement.
mutual understanding.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, whatever it is, they're also happy if somebody is uplifted, right?
Correct.
And it looks good on the paper also for them in the company.
Tell me about it. Yeah.
And in ESG, there's social governance where uplifting women becomes part
Part
of
of
it.
your
Correct.
So it works for them in all ways. So for them, it's a win-win.
Yeah.
And somebody else is doing it.
and that. Yeah.
So why not? So that is that part. But when it comes to Satori, it's much more easier because it's children.
Yeah.
And everybody wants to help children. And we are talking not just about government children. We're talking about all schools and colleges and schools, where we are saying through communication, through conversation, through art of questioning, you will understand what really is your calling or what you want to innovate or how you want to be part of nation building.
Wow,
Okay, so we also go as like a duet. Like it's like if I say design, I'll go with somebody from policy. Or if I say design, I'll go with somebody who's a AI specialist or a scientist. So it's always a combination. When we go to school, as individual. FIU is one, and these are multiple sessions that we do individually in schools. It's a 2-hour session, but we're going as a duet, saying always look at two sides of a coin. Like if it's a policy school, look at policy as words and policy as space. Because one without the other is of no
anyway
use.
Not going to, it's going to be theoretical.
It's of no use. It's only theoretical. So students start seeing the multidisciplinary aspect of having conversations, finding solutions through conversations. So there it's very easy to find your tribe because you're doing it purely out of passion. And that energy kind of, people see that energy and say, okay, let's do it together.
No, that energy aspect, I'm sure, because earlier when Saraswati was saying it's all been so miraculous for us and from you as well, I think both of you bring a certain joy to the process, which is so evident in this conversation as well. Like, it doesn't weigh you down. And that's so important, right?
That's true. Like, whenever I've spoken to either of you, I mean, it's very easy, I feel like, to crib or whine about how you may not get some support or But like I've never heard that, and that itself takes a certain mindset.
Because I'm just thinking, I'm sure you've heard a lot of no's, right?
Yeah.
It's not that you've, in fact, maybe more than any of us realistically here.
Correct.
But to still kind of keep it so light, it's just so charming and so inspiring.
Yeah. But you must also be investing a lot of time and energy in training the teachers, right? That's so important.
Yes, especially because one of our core values at Diyaghar Subha is excellence. And so we believe that, these children deserve the best. And that's why we wanted to do Montessori. I saw my 3 children in that kind of a learning environment. And I said, that's what I want to create, right? So whether it is the facilities we provide, given the constraints, whether it's the food we give, whether it's education. And so a lot of teacher training. So the first set of teachers I trained, I finished my training, started training them. Then the next set of teachers went to the training center where I was, where I had done my training. Then slowly some of the senior teachers started helping me in training these teachers. So every month, first and third Saturdays, the teachers come in for training. So currently we have about 50 plus teachers, and we have a training coordinator who joined us just about a year and a half ago, who has 20 years of Montessori experience. We've been talking for so many years, and at last she decided to, switch and move to Diyaghar, and so she does an amazing work of training them, and training not just the skills of the Montessori, but understanding the children and meeting them at their point of need. And so a lot of the materials have been customized for, their learning needs. So we emphasize a lot on training. And so the first few years, it was only teacher training for me. And now as, we've got more centers, we also have other support functions, like whether it's accounts, fundraising, HR admin, the usual stuff. So now the last couple of years has been training those teams, and because truly believe that we should give them the best, and so that's been
that's so important, right? Again, this is not a favor to those kids, right? There's a journey, there's a path, there's an intent, and you have them till they're 6 years. They're 6. So for first standard, they go to government schools.
Yes, but 80% go to government schools, 20% go to affordable private schools.
Okay.
So even there, our team goes and convinces the schools, both government schools and private schools, to enroll these children, because since they're migrant, sometimes the language barrier that keeps them away from going to the government school. And unfortunately, our country, it's so nice that we're so diverse and we bring in so many different elements.
No, you can say it. It's just we're too diverse and we're too siloed sometimes.
Yeah,
right?
and the language barrier is so much that so we get a lot of pushback even from local communities. For example, we've just started in Chennai, and they're saying, we want these communities to leave, right? We don't want them. And the same thing in Bangalore as well, right?
Okay.
While we want them to come in, build our cities, segregate our ways,
get lost.
we are like, we don't want to, integrate. We don't want you in the same schools, even in the government schools, with children speaking the local language, right? So our team really works with the schools, helping these children integrate and feel like they belong there. And then we have an after-school program, so they come back to for that.
Oh, nice.
We have after school also now.
Yeah, because it's so important to stay connected to that root, in some ways. Yeah.
So I was really looking for a school where, our child would feel welcome and feel comfortable. So I was looking for smaller schools where, with a little support from our side, they'll be able to do well. So that's what we're focused on, really looking, for these smaller schools and close to the communities as well.
Because I feel that little child also, you have given them confidence. You've made them part of another set of students, in Diyaghar itself, and then to put them in first standard in an environment where they again feel excluded is very unfair, no? So that's a challenge in itself.
It is, and that reminds me of what many people say. They come to our centers and say, but you say most of the children are going to go to the government school, and the government schools don't have the setup. So aren't you doing a disservice to them? And I don't have the answer yet. So I was like, okay, now how do I, have a space that is not clean enough or, material that's good enough. But so for me to come to terms with that is, see, we want to, provide whatever the best that they can get, and children are resilient, and so even if they move into a government school, like you said, they're very confident. They start participating in different activities, and so the environment is going to be different in a little way.
Sure.
In the teaching sense, it's fine because we have a bridge program for the older children. So we have kind of a traditional classroom setup for them in the afternoon. So that's okay. But culturally and kind of just the setup is going to be different. But they're all doing well. Our oldest is in class 9 now.
Wow.
And I know they're grown up so quickly. And most of them are doing very well.
Wow.
My God, I don't know. I don't know if, I'm sure you do think about it once in a while, but the lives that you have impacted, I think for future generations, these kids have broken out of that cycle.
Actually, I do wonder, does that ever cross your minds? The fact that,
Of what?
the big picture that you're.
So the big
this is
picture,
the
yeah,
difference that you're.
that's what we want to do, right? The
Mm.
bigger picture, the difference that we can make when a student writes to you
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
says, you made
yeah.
my day,
Yeah.
or writes to you and says, I was not confident till the session,
Yeah.
and now suddenly I feel like, I
Mm.
don't have to look at myself and say I'm not good enough.
Wow. That is
You know,
quite
those are
powerful.
those small snippets that stays with you, saying it's worth doing what you're doing. And I think the best part for me is not just the students that we're impacting, but also the people who are joining hands
Mm.
to be part of this, to believe in you and say we are in it together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's also a thing, because that helps you and that gives you that hope, saying we can go much more forward than I thought we could have
Yeah.
alone, And for here in this, for FIU, that's Satori, you don't need training, right? Because they're all experts.
Correct.
And in
You
fact,
just
some
need
of
a
them are
platform,
doing
I think, yeah.
really, really well, very high up in the ladder. 90% of them are Harvard alumni. So they don't need, to be told, training or anything.
You just need them to land up.
You just need them to show up.
Yeah, yeah.
And a lot of times, all they're looking for is that, curated so that excitement keeps building. We're never repeating.
Yeah.
So, as an architect, I think that's the strength that I can bring in, that every session is curated.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How can we do it differently? Because we don't want any two designs to be the same.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. And no two schools that we go to, we talk about the same things. Because again, the students from each school, the philosophy is different. Like when we went and did it in Satyasai, it's very different from how we would do it in Harrow. They're two extremes
Correct. No,
in
true,
terms
true,
of philosophy,
True.
right? But at the end of it, they're all children.
Yeah.
That's the connecting factor. But
Yeah.
how do we say the same message to them differently? So that is curated and shared with whoever's coming to speak on that day with me.
Oh, okay.
And they're all very smart. So it doesn't take much time to explain the intent.
Correct. Correct.
And we build on that. And that's what keeps the excitement going.
Yeah.
And we keep building our tribe, and that's the support. That's all you need, right?
Yeah.
The community support to go forward.
So with the Future is Us summit, and I've seen because my daughter
Varsha
took
was,
part in one of the years, you expose them to a whole range of ideas, career options, what you could be doing. So it's really like a kind of a live career counseling workshop, right? Like just
So I wouldn't. So when people say career workshop, yes, there are experts from different fields, but our focus is not to be a career workshop. Our focus is just to have conversations with
I
multiple
get that.
people.
Yeah. Yeah.
They get exposure indirectly about different opportunities, yes. But we want them to hear more about the journeys, more about the stories, more about why they chose what they chose, more about how many times they failed to get where they are, and about, every obstacle that will be in that profession or the satisfaction from that profession. We want them to hear all the personal journeys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then, make such a deep and informed choice, I guess. Yeah.
And take it forward with them,
Correct. And I think it'll be interesting to see, like, all the children that you touch, how many, like, which paths do they go into, right? Because you're exposing them to that also, that you don't have to be, what our generation at least, right? Doctor, engineer, this, that, etc. The world is so wide now. It'll be interesting to see what paths they take.
So for me, the bigger impact, what we want to make is to be the third person. What they choose, what they do can change. Like today, let's say you're an architect, tomorrow you can be, into policy, day after you can get into politics. The world is very open today to and accepting to change in professions, right? But what we set out to do, for me, it was a personal journey, because a lot of times our own kids don't want to listen to us. Like, let's say my two kids would rather hear it from a third person than hear it from me,
Very true.
or hear it from a teacher, because we are at their face every day.
Yeah.
So sometimes coming from a third person makes a bigger impact,
Yeah.
Interesting.
in not just in terms of a career choice, but in terms of, for them to open up without worrying about being judged.
Right.
So that's where this started.
Very true. And something we talk about, that the child now has access to one more person.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's a difficult world for them also.
Yeah.
And if you can give them access to one more person, one more group of people, because your kids in your various events also form like a cohort, right? They know each other from across different schools and different backgrounds, and they're in touch, and that forms a community in itself, right? Wow.
Just for them to know that we are not the only ones feeling, that it's not easy, and what do? We don't know what we want to do, and just about even like loneliness.
God knows we need those permissions.
I was going to say,
I'm not the only one going through this. Is a very reassuring thought.
I think this is the segue to my favorite persona, right? That 45-year-old middle manager who is feeling lonely, lost, like, what have I done? Like, has my life been worth it? And what do I do next? Right? That stage of life. Because for both of you, this has been a journey you've been on kind of from day one, right? Yeah. Honestly. But for somebody who wakes up one day, and that's happening more and more, sometimes because of just circumstance, that what you were doing is no longer available to you as an option. You've been told you're redundant in as many words, and you haven't picked up other skills. And so that person, or somebody who says, oh, I have the time, I have the energy, I have the mental bandwidth, I want a community. I'm hearing that too, that I want another community to be part of, right? And it starts with, like, I don't know, maybe a runner's club or a cycling club or something, but I want some other community. So that person at that stage in life, what would you tell them? Like, how do they take it forward? What are those baby steps that they can take?
So there are a lot of friends that I have been meeting, like you said, in their 40s, who have this exact same question. Now the kids are a little older.
Correct.
And I've seen this in your podcast also. Okay, now I have time.
Correct.
And highly educated, very smart, but they want to do something meaningful. How do you do it? So even for me, it was not easy. Like, you're an architect, your entire day is in the office. And I would do the sessions maybe once in a couple of months. It wasn't as regular or as frequent as it is now. But being part of the Harvard Club of Bangalore, once I graduated, this was about 8 years back, I think changed a lot of things. Like, each of us need to find that club, that click, and a few people. I'm not saying the entire club. There are 350 people, but you're close to probably 50 people, right? But it's through these conversations that you have where you're going in again as an outsider. You're not going in as an architect. You're not going in as just a friend. You're going in as just an individual where everything else is ripped off, right? You're just a person, and you're having conversations about who you really are when you meet the other person. And that's when you start connecting the dots, and you find a like-minded set of people from different professions and say, okay, we are in it with you. So you're getting that support that all of us need. Not all, I won't say all. Some of us need. Like, let's say I needed that validation. I needed that support. I needed that saying you can do it. Actually, just go with it.
I would go so far as to say we all need something from the community.
Yeah, we need.
And and more from your journeys also. It's like, finally, when you talk about social impact, it's always seen as some favor that you're doing, or that person, that individual must be driven by something so completely different. But really, I think what we are saying is get up and realize that the world is full of
people like that. You just have to talk about what is really your dream. And I think it starts from sharing, with other people.
Correct.
What do you really want to do? Who do you really want to be? And where do you want to go? It starts from just start talking. You never know who is that other person who will join hands with you. It doesn't have to be at the same energy level. You can still anchor it. And they can all be there to support it. Even if it's once in a month or once in 6 months, each person can support in their own capacity at that point of time, right? But you need all this support from multiple angles to really
Yeah.
make your dream come true,
Yeah.
or go forward.
Yeah.
So, and again, it goes back to what you said, about faith, right? If you really believe that this is going to impact positively, and I think it starts with hope. And then if you have faith, that hope gets translated. And if you really love what you want, what you are doing, it just becomes easy. You don't even look at it as difficult because you enjoy it. You just love it. And people can see that you love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I think it's radiating. Like there's a small bit of both of you who are, it's like, how do you not get this? Like this is so in a positive way.
In a good way.
Like this is so joyful.
Yeah,
It's not a chore at all. It is so joyful. The impact, the work that you put in, the people that you meet, the conversations that you have, that there's so much joy when you start kind of, I don't know, being open to starting from nothing and having a conversation with someone, right?
And I'm also curious because this is so all encompassing, right? And you've done it for so long now in your respective roles. Do you feel the need for switching off? Like, is there a need for an off switch at some point? And do you switch it off at some? And I'm sure you do, but what does that look like? And yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, I was sharing earlier how, I wanted to be home with the children a lot, right? And so when we started our second center, that December, my prayer was, Lord, once we start the second center, it's going to be more hectic, but my time with my husband and children should not reduce. And every year since then, God has answered that prayer. And so I think a couple of things is, I don't completely switch off because of the role that I am in. So even when I travel, and now we're all connected. So, unless you don't have network. But then over time, teams have grown very strong. So, a lot of things don't have, that doesn't come to me to be addressed. But the other thing is that I don't get too stressed about it, right? So, for example, if you're on a trip and I have to do a work call, it's not like that's going to be hanging over my shoulder. It's not like I'm going to get upset about it or I'm going to be, disconnected from my children because that's got it. So, I think, again, it comes back to faith. So, I just trust God so much that even when challenges come up, I'm just like, okay, it's going to work out, and things have a way of working out. So it doesn't really take away from what I'm doing at that time. And then, as in every day, I get a lot of time with my children. Pretty much on most days, time with my husband. Just time to meditate, to pray, to connect with God. So I think that's my mini switch off time.
Yeah, that's significant, no? Because it's recharging you. It's energizing you, right?
I think for each person, the recharge is very different, right? So I think for me, switching off in architecture, like you said, it's like 7 days a week, construction is going on all the time. So again, if you get a work call, it's okay. But what do I do to switch off or re-energize? I wouldn't say switch off, to get that energy back. So again, when I speak to students also, I tell them about, what there are 5 energies that I depend on, or maybe all of us, right? One is spiritual. One is emotional, that we get from our old childhood friends, and because that never changes. That's so grounded, right? That's the emotional energy. Then we have the physical energy. If we don't take care of our health, then there's nothing, right? And then you have the creative energy, the energy that when you do something and you see that going well and you see the responses, that's creative energy. But the biggest thing for me right now is the community energy. So the energy, that is what you call a switch off or re-energize. It's about having these conversations that are so deep and, very meaningful. We're not talking about our financial growth. We're talking about our own personal journeys. How do we grow? Those conversations, I think, re-energizes.
That's very nuanced, because I think that community energy is one that we all don't tap into equally. We all don't need it equally also, but it's there, and I think it's a very useful thing to remind ourselves of, that be part of something, some group, some tribe that is doing something that you like, and you can spend time with, and you can, because you're right, like that work and life is a blend. There's
Yeah.
no the
Yeah.
balance and all that. I don't
Yeah.
know. We keep saying there's an episode there that
Yeah, but we are yet to get to that. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming.
but
Yeah.
it is a blend, and you have to be
Yeah.
okay with the work call, and then when you're at work you have to be okay
Yeah,
with coordinating with the
yeah.
child on
Yeah.
something, and
Yeah.
all of that. So it's important to I really like these 5 energies, and I'm going to remind myself that are they
Which
doing
one
for
have
me
you? Yeah,
what
yeah,
they can
yeah.
do for me,
Because as
in
you
a
were
way.
saying that, I was thinking, oh, but that one I have not, like, when was the last time I prayed, right? Like, and I'm sure it's important,
Yeah.
but it's just
Yeah,
somewhere
yeah.
it fell
So-
by the wayside.
but it's available to you. I
Yeah,
think that's the
yeah.
reminder, that it's available to you to tap into when you maybe feel low, or when you
Yeah.
feel a little lost or disconnected, right? But that was also a cue for your Mansarovar trek. So how
Tell
was
us
that
more.
like?
So the last several years, we've been visiting a lot of temples because my parents and, the family is older now. That's where they want to go. And for me, from a perspective, not just a spiritual journey, from a perspective of architecture, culture, history, learning about our own art, our own craft, I enjoy the journey on that level as well. So when the Mansarovar was planned, it wasn't like I knew anything about it. It was ignorance, total
What
ignorance.
does it involve?
So this is supposed to be the king of all kings in terms of having a spiritual journey.
Okay.
Visiting a temple. It's not a temple, it's a mountain. And you circle the mountain. You don't really climb the mountain. So I had no idea, but I feel every person should go there once since I went there and came back, because it's a journey of 3 days that you are alone with the mountain.
Wow.
You're not walking with somebody. It's the Sherpa who's walking with you, who's helping, but you're not working with family or the whole crowd that you have gone in with. Nothing. It's just you, the Sherpa, and the mountain for 3 days. And you have a bag with only water. There's nothing else in the bag. And you don't change your clothes for 3 days either. So it's literally you give up everything, you clear up everything. There's no weight, there's no baggage physically and emotionally. There's nothing, right? You leave everything away and you go, because you have to be lightweight. Otherwise you can't walk. Your own weight is a lot. So you shouldn't carry anything, like except what you need, the bare minimum, right? And 3 days they very clearly tell you don't carry any extra change of clothes because you're not going to change. So the walk, how it starts is, some people may be very fit, but like you said, if there's no calling, they're not able to do it. So it's really not the person who's the most fit who completes it, but the person who surrenders. So that's where again faith comes. So the first day, I've never been a person who does trek, so I have no idea. So the first day was
That
very
itself
difficult.
is such a leap of faith, no? I mean,
what? Then sign up to walk for 3 days.
By yourself, actually.
Yeah.
So it's a 10-day journey. First 5 days you acclimatize. So basically you go one level each day, so the altitude, and you walk for a couple of hours to get acclimatized. But the 3 days is the main journey around the thing. So the first day was very difficult for me because it was 10 hours. Many people do it in 6 hours, but it took me 10 hours. And at the end of the day, because I was the last person, we couldn't find our camp. We didn't know where it was. So I'm sitting alone on the mountain. My Sherpa's also gone to find where to go, right? And that's when you said again, no, like it's faith, right? I'd given up by then, end of the first day, and I call a friend who's from Uttarakhand. So he knows the mountains. And I said, I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't know what I was thinking that I could even do it. Because no training, people train for this. No training, no nothing. And he said, it's a wrong attitude that you're going with, saying, I will do it, I can do it, I'm going to do it. None of these things will work with the mountain. The mountain decides whether you should complete or should not complete. So the first thing you need to change your attitude is saying, I surrender. You decide for me whether I complete the second day or not. You surrender. So the second day, when most people backed out after the first day, from 48, we became 22 the first day. From 22, we were 7 the second day. Only 7. And in that 7, only 4 of us walked. So of the 4, I was one, even though I was the last person on the first day. So it's really surrendering. And I think what it teaches you on that day probably is what is already inside you. Again, what
Mm.
experience each person takes back from the mountains is very different, right? So for me, the calling was always there, right? To do, to give. So I think this just tells you, okay, just continue doing it, but do it with a fresh perspective. Do it without having to worry this time, just completely let go and just flow. I think that's what the mountains, I don't know how long it'll stay with me. Hopefully it continues to stay with me.
I guess the mountains and the deep blue sea.
Yeah. No, I mean, for what it's worth, it's permanent. I think I can. Yeah, it is quite. It'll be there.
Yeah. Saraswati, what next? How does this, actually, that doesn't need an answer in the sense that you've gone from 5 children
Yeah,
to
1,200.
1,200 and across so many centers. It could be that, okay, this is it and we kind of nourish this more and more. But there's something else called to you. Is there something that you want to grow this into?
Actually, the next milestone that we have set for ourselves is to reach 5,000 children every day. And currently we have actually about 1,600 children across 28 centers, both in Bangalore and Chennai. And the reason is, Subha, that we feel that we are privileged and blessed to be in a position to make those connections, right? To connect with communities, to build trust there, to understand them, to work with them, and to bring the support needed for those children for this time in their lives, and being able to connect with people, with corporates, right? So I'm really very fortunate, right? Having worked in the corporate for some years, with alumni and things like that, to be able to bring people's attention to this problem. So while for the first few years it was like, Shamal, can we just do this one center, please? I don't want to do more. But I've grown out of that a lot and can really see how the need is overwhelming, right? And people are very generous. So many people want to come and support and volunteer, and so it's been really nice to be in that middle place to just be a bridge, to bridge that gap.
Wonderful. If there was one thing that you'd want to tell folks on, let's say, the other side of the bridge, individuals, CSR folks, corporates, what's that one thing that you would like to say that will help us cross?
I think for individuals, it is to just come out of your comfort zone, right?
Huge.
And to take steps of just being courageous. Earlier you were talking about somebody in the mid-40s, midlife crisis, right? So we were talking earlier, and I was saying not to be shackled by your own comfort, building all the safety nets, not only for ourselves, but our children and the next generations. And I think we are all wired to really be giving people, right? That's how God has created us, to be a community. We've been talking about that. So to really step out and just give. And so we do a lot of programs with volunteers, with individuals. We also get corporate funding. But some people say, why do you really go after individuals? Go after, individuals. Because I think, in the end, it's the individual who really matters. And we want people to also experience this joy of giving, right? To really experience that, to experience being a significant part of somebody else's life. And, like how you were saying, not just are we blessing others, but we are blessed in that process, more than blessed in that process, right? So with individuals, so just, try your hand at whatever it is in your own area, whichever cause is close to your heart. With corporates, although it's made of people, they have their focus areas. It's right?
Animal by itself.
And so they have a lot of, when you talk to them, they're like, okay, we are also bound by these frameworks and constraints. But one of the things that is really challenging, Subha, there is that, the CSR amendments are such that the corporates, the donation that they give has to be utilized that very year, that same financial year. So even if they donate in March, the fund utilization has to be done by end of March. And even though they might continue supporting, their next round of funding donation might not come till a few months later, a few quarters later, right? So that also, from your reactions, you can see that it just doesn't make any sense, right?
And I was also, utilization doesn't mean sparking it for something you want to work on. It has to be spent.
Every rupee has to be spent, and we give audited reports, right? So that's why we've been that's another reason why we kind of continue, looking to individuals for donations because that's what gives you,
Yeah.
to be able to do the
mileage
cash
really
flow,
depends,
to manage the operating expenses.
Otherwise, you're pressurized
so-
to spend on something which you may
You
not
don't need
want
it.
to.
Yeah, in a
Yeah.
month. I'm just
Correct.
thinking.
Yeah.
So that makes it extremely difficult, right? And so when we take up, when we take up a center, when we start centers, we're currently in the process of starting about 6-7 centers. We're not looking at, okay, we'll start with the CSR partnership and it'll close when the CSR's focus area changes, right? It's not a project that we do once. We look at a child, it's like they're with us for a long time. So it becomes hard, right? So we keep approaching different corporates, individuals to make sure that whenever this corporate goes into a different focus area alignment, then we have somebody else to come in. So by God's grace, in these 9 years, we haven't had to close a center because corporates couldn't continue, and could also be their own budget constraints, right? Because it depends on their profit.
Correct.
So if that constraint of not having to utilize the funds that financial year, and which was the case some years back.
Okay.
But then you know how it is corruption in every field, and it's in there in
And so
the
we
social
try to
sectors.
solve it in the most
with one
obvious.
bad apple, we kind of
Correct.
spoil the entire.
And so now it becomes, so it's becomes very difficult for NGOs, and so they really open projects, close projects,
Oh
right?
my God.
And here we're talking about people, and
That's
so
news to us, honestly.
Really. No, that's an unnecessary shackle to put on, or at least do it on a case by case. Like if you're able to show how, after X amount of time you have utilized, then
also exactly that amount of time, right? I mean, say 18 months, say 24 months. But within that financial year becomes hard because corporates also, their budgets come in later in the year. Their board
your
approvals.
window is very small.
So it's just literally the last 6 months if you're fortunate, or the last 3-4 months. So with our long-term partners, of course, now, they've been able to start making those donations earlier in the year and things. But that constraint, that framework, I mean, they also have that constraint, right? But
Correct.
that thing makes it really hard.
Yeah. So I guess that's my question was going to be, what is that one policy lever that you, and I think that's I hear your lever. What about in your space? What's the one thing that really holds you all back?
So I think what holds us back is just ourselves. I don't think there's anything else that's holding us back, because for us, we're not dependent on money for Satori, right? It's people. And how much you are able to show truly what you mean by this and why it means so much, and give them that experience where what you're talking is actually what they're going to feel once they're part of this. So it's really how much I push myself to show them what it means. The meaning of it is, that's it. That is for this. And for Anag, it's again like, reaching out to all, building a collective. Like going to temple town and becoming a collective. So it's a long process. It will take time. And for architecture, it's about telling, like we design a lot of institutions, because again, that's my love, to design spaces for learning, to tell the owners of the institution that program cannot just be like, okay, classroom is 100 square feet, this is joy also has to be a program. Right? That also has to be considered when you design. Have a space in an institution where a child can, go there for a particular emotion. Like for introspection, there's a certain space.
We have like a peace corner.
Yeah.
in our centers.
It could be like you already have it.
Along with like brain gym corner and art and craft corner. We have like a peace corner.
See, you already have it. Why can't we have it and saying, okay, this is a space for introspection. This is a space where, it's chance interactions. A space, maybe they're feeling sad and they just,
want to be held in that.
or just write on that
format.
space, like you just leave some emotions, you write on the board. So there's so many emotions that a child goes through. Why can't we have spaces for, so it should become like a vessel to hold all emotions. So that's what I'm talking to institution owners, saying think beyond just classrooms, because not a single child after they leave school, if you ask them what is the best memory, a physical memory of your school, nobody will say classroom.
Correct.
They'll say corridor, they'll say cafeteria.
I was just going to say the big tree in the courtyard at Bishop Cotton's, like that's where we hung out, right?
So why can't we spend more time designing those spaces? Because a classroom is just a classroom. But all these meaningful spaces that students remember, let's celebrate that.
Wow. Oof, so much
So
to
much,
like,
and somehow feeling very light again after hearing both of you, and you've spoken in so much depth and nuance about the work, and so many of these things we don't know. I'll be so honest as to say that we probably don't even think about
We
it.
don't
as
actually.
much.
That's the thing, when I was even thinking of, I've been wanting to have Sachu on for quite a while now. Even when we were doing audio, I remember I reached out, and I know like she follows the school cycle, and there's a busyness, and then new centers, and then I saw your work on SWA, and there was some kind of, in my mind, it all was coming together, but we don't think about it often, and I kind of want these conversations to be awakenings to that. Again, favorite persona of mine. But like to many of us who just need to hear that, hey, others have thought of it, they've put time and energy, they've done it, they've enjoyed doing it. And it's a journey that, many of us can really partake of so much more. Right? Like both Satori and Future is a summit. Like you're saying, all I'm asking is for a few hours of time from somebody accomplished in their field.
Yeah.
Right?
Nothing
And I honestly, at that stage, you're ready to talk.
That's true.
Give me a mic, I'll talk.
And see if I give it up. Case in point.
Case in point, yeah. But no, just so proud of the work that the two of you have been doing, and Godspeed. Like just multiply. Literally,
that's our wish
just
for you.
really multiply your efforts, and the impact multiplies on its own. I think it's just wonderful to see. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
It was a pleasure.
No, we're not letting you go yet.
Because we have to
Yeah.
let you have some fun, hopefully.
Yeah. No, so we, as a podcast, we say work, play, build, and I think for you, this is work and play somehow, and it's also building. Systems, processes for the future. There's a huge legacy. But what do you turn to when you want to just turn away from all of it? Like what is, or even as part of it, like what is something that, apart from these endeavors, is an important part of your life? Faith, I know, I hear it from both of you. Faith is super important. What else fills?
Reading. I think just listening to music. And I think even the music changes. What you listen to as you start, working in these kind of spaces, which is very offbeat spaces. Spaces where you're giving a lot. Sometimes you have no energy in terms of emotional energy because you've seen so much. And it takes away a lot, right? Because you want to share that love with other people, that you're drained out and you need to fill that space again from others, right? So reading helps a lot. And of course, sketching, drawing,
I said, and then I realized she's an architect.
The same thought went through my mind. So I think all three of us are like,
yeah, obviously.
But the sketching also has evolved. Like what I used to probably sketch earlier. Now I'm not sketching those things. I'm sketching more like the current thing that I'm working on is like all the facets of feminine energy from goddesses, right? Like Durga. How can we see Durga as, you can look at it, all the feminine god, you can look at it as fearful, you can look at it as caring, nurturing, protecting. So there's so many shades of a woman. And we see that in all our gods, right? How it's depicted, goddess of learning. So I'm drawing each of these and making it into collage. It's teaching me also, like, who am I really?
Fascinating. Yeah.
What is play for you?
For me, I'm an introvert. And so even Shamal doesn't believe that because he's
I was
much
just gonna
more
say,
of an introvert than I am, right? But I'm such an introvert. I really want to just be by myself. So while I like to engage with people, I love doing that. I do that a lot. That doesn't fill my energy, right? So I have to come back to just being by myself. So the way I recharge is really just faith, Shubha, really very uninteresting. I don't have
No. I mean, what could be
amazing
more
stuff
powerful
that we
than
do.
that?
So it's faith and family,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
My 3 children are absolutely amazing. And even last evening, I had been traveling and came back, after 2 days of travel and just being with them. And they're just amazing children. And my husband as well. So I think, so the family is what really recharges me. And reading, like you said, listening to music,
Beautiful.
learning and growing.
Yeah.
Because it's a very new field for me, whether it is community, social work, leadership, organization, all of that, right?
Yeah.
Although I've done an MBA, I don't know what was taught that time and what we really
What
learned
you
at that
shouldn't do,
time.
probably.
Yeah. Probably. So it's been amazing to just learn different things, learn from other people's experiences. So that's one way of
Yeah. Oof, it's so energizing. No? Like you said, it's like a lot.
We don't
but
want
it's
to let you
energizing.
go,
Yeah,
actually.
seriously.
It's so lovely to hear the different things that you're saying and the questions that you're asking, right? I'm like, I love that surrender. That's going to be my word now.
Yeah.
That was a
It is so
beautiful story.
scary, but you
Yeah.
feel like, wow, if I could
Something
make
about
that
it was very
happen.
cleansing.
Ah,
Just hearing,
yeah.
Right?
the permission
Yeah.
to be human. Yeah.
Anything that you want to recommend? We call it read, watch, listen. So it could be a book, it could be a show.
So I'd like to recommend this book that actually somebody gifted me again. And this is again fate, right? I've met him only once. He's part of the UN who's in Delhi and who heads one of the departments for South Asia. And one conversation, and that's it. And then he goes back to Delhi and he gifts me this book. I don't know what he saw in me that he felt that I really needed it. The name of the book is Switch.
Yes.
Change is hard, right? How do you change when change is hard?
Wow.
That's a beautiful book that talks about the heart and the mind. How do you get both of them to work together?
Wow.
The heart is the elephant and the mind is the rider on the elephant.
Interesting. That's an
interesting.
interesting visual. Yeah.
So the rider can sit on the elephant only till the elephant allows it to sit, right? Because after a point, even if the rider is forcing the elephant to go, after a point the elephant will just topple him over. So unless your heart is in the right place, the mind cannot do anything. It can only go that far. So you have to have both together. And it's a beautiful book, How to Change When Change is Hard.
I was just thinking, you just described the essence of a midlife crisis. Just thrown off an elephant makes a lot of sense when you think about it.
Midlife crisis. I know we're talking about midlife crisis.
You're nowhere close.
There's an abundance of
We'll
it.
give you a quarter life crisis.
Thank you. Okay.
Long way to go.
So one is called Beyond Entrepreneurship, and this is by Jim Collins and Bill Lazier. And I love all the books that Jim Collins read. Good to Great, Built to Last, that whole series, right? But in this, he brings it all together. So for me, I think the maximum learning I've got in terms of just leadership and frameworks and coaches. So he talks about disciplined people, disciplined thought, disciplined process. And I've been able to apply a lot of that. And I think that's exciting, right? When you're running an organization, you can learn and apply it as well. And so that's been so helpful. And many of our teams have been benefited by a lot of frameworks he talks about.
Beautiful.
The other one is a very familiar book, When Breath Becomes Air, by Dr. Paul Kalanithi. And, he's a neurosurgeon who is diagnosed with terminal cancer, lung cancer, in his mid-30s. And he writes about his journey, just when he's kind of almost having to wind down his work. And those last few years, few months, time with his wife, and a child. And so for me, I always have eternity in mind. And here it was really a beautiful way to finish life. If that's going to be part of the plan for any of us, right? But just finding meaning. And it's all about not the number of years we live, right? But what we do during that time, how we enjoy and make every moment count. And so I'm at peace, like, if something were to happen as well, I know my children will be fine, Shyam will be fine, so it was just it's a beautiful read.
Yeah. No, I think, I didn't think of that. That was so poignant, that it's what you do in those years that you're given, right? And both lovely. The Paul Kalani, that just, I've reread it also and I've cried the second time also. One of those books. Thank you so much. thank you again, ladies, for a lovely time together.
Beautiful
And
chat.
just, I mean, I don't know, inspiring feels like a very lame word to use, but I'll start there.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for having us. It was
Pleasure.
amazing just talking to both of you, and just the conversation came together so
Same,
beautifully,
yeah.
and learned so
Yeah.
much from you as well. Thank you.
We have 1,600 students. That's like a big school.
Exactly.
I can't
exactly.
believe it.
It's
I
like
can't
a big
believe it.
school.
I
That's
know.
what a average big school
Exactly.
strength is, and you're
Yeah.
managing it with
Across
It's only
yeah,
miracles.
across centers. It's not
Yeah.
even one
Multiple
center.
centers,
Yeah.
That's
No,
I don't know how you do
And
it.
just the fragility of that ecosystem
Yeah.
on a daily basis,
The
no?
struggles.
Yes.
It's not
Behind
easy.
Hebbal Center, I visited after a long time. They're building a new railway track,
Oh.
and the land is just opened up right
Yeah.
behind our center. Just a Shamla when he's like, imagine the children walking around here. Somebody's going to fall in, and so it's
My God.
yeah. And then communities move.
Ah.
So we kind of close the center, move with them.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's
Wow.
happened.
Wow.
Communities
So school
move
should not
away.
even complain.
Correct.
I know,
correct.
seriously. I think,
Seriously.
yeah.
No, as in, I mean, seeing the work that you do, just 90% of us
Should not complain
we have
at all.
nothing to complain about. We should just go out
Sit
and
and
do
acknowledge.
more. Yeah,
the
acknowledge
10
and just figure out how
I
to.
think anything that we do is difficult, right? I mean, I've been in the corporate for a few
No.
years. So I think anything is not,
No,
I mean,
no,
if you
no,
want to
no,
do it
no.
well,
Hmm.
you're putting in effort. You're
See,
very
no.
intent about it.
Yeah.
You're giving it your best, right?
I don't know. Like, see, you're right. I mean, when you're in a corporate and you're doing a job, there are challenges and there are stakeholders who are difficult, and there is policy levers which are not bending and all of that. But I don't know
Not
that.
everybody has the ability to let the work flow through them. I think that's the difference. And the closest that I think maybe a corporate system comes to this is in mentoring to some extent and facilitation, right? Like it's not easy for everybody to accept that the work is,
Yeah.
I'm a channel for it in some
Yeah.
ways, right? I think that, yeah,
Not
yeah.
get too tied to those little metrics, but see that bigger picture. And a lot of what you said, like coaching, is that every session I take away sometimes more than
Yeah.
probably the other
The
person,
students.
right?
The students
Like,
give you so much
correct,
feedback
correct.
to grow.
Yeah.
And the other people you work with, right? If I'm doing a session with
Correct.
a scientist,
Mm.
you know how much you learn from each
Yeah,
other. I
yeah.
think it's such a privilege. How many people get that opportunity?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's our,
That's
like,
what
that's
we
why
keep
we are
saying
in
about
this
small
world.
talk, actually.
telling
Like
you
the
that.
amount of, I don't know, the things we learn, right?
Yeah.
Just sitting here with all of you.
Otherwise, we wouldn't even meet some of the people we meet, or you wouldn't
Yeah.
even think of, what should I say to them, or what
Yeah.
should I talk to them about, and that opens.
And that's what students, I mean, kids should really
Yeah.
learn. Not just go and talk. It doesn't matter who you talk to, just talk. Just start talking.
Fair.
Lovely. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thanks so
It
much.
was